Good afternoon, folks. Jordan here at the Nutty Gnome Homestead. Today is January 17th, 2023, and I am out in front of my blackberry stand getting ready to do some annual maintenance. So I have a 160-foot row of thornless domesticated blackberries and raspberries. We make a lot of wine, a lot of jam. We sell a lot as well. We do try to maintain our berries to where they give us the maximum amount of production every year. In order to do that, you got to constantly train your berries so they don't get out of order, because they will get very unruly. 7, 8, 10 foot tall, they'll branch out. We cut out all of the dead canes because they're not going to provide any more fruit. There's no sense in keeping them there. It's just going to make for a jumbled mess next year when you go to start collecting your berries. I do take a lot of different propagations. We do a lot of cuttings. I do a lot of tip layering, where I bury the tip of the year's canes and let them actually take root. In the spring I'll cut them off and I got a new plant. This is how I propagate my berries for free, to where I can transplant all the way down this 160-foot row. So let me turn you around. Alright, as you can see, all of these red canes are my dormant berries from this year. These are all Arapaho thornless blackberries. I've got Arapaho, there's some Wachita, and then I've got some raspberries down yonder. But this stretches on down to the end of the row, all the way down by the road. There's 160 feet of blackberries here. This stand is approximately 12 foot thick. Last year we picked somewhere around 60 to 70 gallons of blackberries off of this, and I'm hoping to hit over 100 gallons this year. But whenever I'm saying we're going to have to cut out and do some maintenance, let me zoom in here. You see the difference in color between this cane here and this cane here? This cane here is a dark woody color. This is last year's cane. It produced fruit and then it died. This cane is of no use to us anymore. We're going to go ahead and cut this out. This maroon and green cane here is what we're going to take our cuttings from, is what we're going to trim up to keep everything nice and ruly. It's going to take several hours for me to get all these cleaned up, but the end result's going to be a lot easier for us to pick berries in the spring, and it's also going to make it look neater. There's no sense in having a whole jumbled mess of blackberry canes that you can't get to the berries in the center. So by trimming these up and pruning these every year, this makes sure that we get the maximum amount of berries in an orderly fashion. So I don't know if y'all can see that piece of flagging down there. That was a layered cane from a year or two ago that I just didn't get to transplant. We buried the tip of that cane in the ground. It took root, put up new shoots, and created a whole new plant for us. We did several hundred of these last year, and I just didn't get to all of them. A lot of these here have layered by themselves. Like this one here, it actually grew down and layered, started a new plant, and that's how we propagate our blackberries. Here's another really good example. So we've got this cane that's probably 10, 12 foot long. Came down where a bud was. I'd actually pruned this off early in the spring. It put off 2 new shoots. Both of those shoots touched the ground and took root. I can cut right here. That'll be a new plant on that side. I can cut here, and this will be a new plant on this side. Both of those canes will produce fruit this year whenever I put them in the ground. It's really that simple, folks. We can also take cuttings from these and propagate inside. Now, some cuttings are going to root a little better than others. I prefer to take green cuttings, or cuttings that have a little bit of maroon and green on them, because they're going to have the most life in the piece of the cane. When I take a cutting that's just all maroon, like from this one here. This is a little bit older wood. It may or may not take. So if I'm trimming up and I cut some of those out, they'll get propagated as well, but I'm not counting on them to go ahead and put out roots. I figure that the majority of my successful propagations are going to come from my youngest, most tender canes. Like, as you can see, this one here. Get you focus. There we go. You see how that's kind of a greenish maroon? That cane right there would be perfect for taking cuttings on. I do use rooting hormone. You don't have to. It just increases my overall success rate. These do root very easy. They can be a weed if you let them go. Like this cane here. This whole cane was shot up last year, grew, produced this fruit, and then died. It's not going to produce anymore. It may seem like a shame to cut that out, but it's going to get in the way. It's going to get tangled up with this year's canes. We're going to get it out of there. Once we thin all this out, this is going to look real open. It's going to have a lot of airflow. The airflow is going to help prevent us from getting mildew in here. We don't treat any of our berries. We try to grow everything as organically as we can. So we're not out here spraying fungicides or pesticides or anything. So we try to let our chickens and ducks take care of the insects. And by properly pruning out our canes and keeping this manicured and maintained, the airflow will actually help prevent the powdery mildew from setting in. Alright folks, so I moved to the other side of the fence, and you can see I didn't get this as manicured as much as I'd like to last year. And this is all grown up pretty bad. Moved out, tip layered, and kept on propagating itself out. And these blackberries can get pretty aggressive. So if you don't keep them pruned back or whatnot, everywhere they touch the ground, they're going to send out roots and send off a new plant. So in order to prune these up, you don't need anything special. My favorite tool is a good set of pruning shears. I prefer the bypass type shears instead of the anvil, because taking cuttings from this, I don't destroy the cambium layers. Also, what helps clean this up is a tool that not a lot of people use anymore. Yeah, a nice hand sigh goes a long way. A little sickle like this goes a long way with cleaning up this this brush underneath here. A couple good swipes with a file, keep it nice and sharp. Come through here, I can get this all cleaned up in no time at all. Then I can get to work on pruning up my canes. I'm going to step across, take a couple of cuttings, and I'll show you how we do that here in just a moment. So, you see this cane coming out right here. It goes on down about 12 feet. I'm going to come to a bud that is facing out. I don't want it growing in towards the fence or towards the other canes. I want this to grow out and up. So I'm going to come up here where this bud is. You can see that bud right here. And I'm going to cut just underneath that bud. So this plant is going to put all of its energy in throwing up a new shoot. It's going to go up. Now, I'm not going to waste this cane. Let me see if I can't dig it out of here. So here's this cane. It's got some green on the end, green and maroon, and it goes to a light maroon and green down here. I'm going to start here where this green part is. It actually tried putting off a root there. Got a little bit of damage. I'll cut off just below this node. I got some more damage here, so I won't even use that piece at all. We'll go ahead and get rid of that. So I've got a node here, a bud. Got another one here. I like my propagations to be about 6 to 10 inches long whenever I get them started. Since I don't have any buds past this one right here on this end, I'm going to cut off just below that. Okay, and then I'm going to come down. There's another set of buds. Here's another one. And I'm going to cut off just below at a 45-degree angle, so I know which end to go into the rooting medium. That right there is going to be my cutting. I'm going to stick this in a little bit of rooting hormone and put this into my rooting medium. I prefer sand, but I've also used things such as peat moss perlite and actually potting mix. Sand tends to give me the best success rate. And I just go on down this entire branch. I'll cut off flush right above this bud here, because that's where my new shoots are going to come out at. Any kind of leaves that are left on, take those off. And I'm going to try to get a 10-inch, 8-10-inch long piece. I'm going to try to get in this next bud, so if you got to go just a little longer, that's okay too. Trim it up. There's two. Come down here, trim it for that bud. This one still has remnants of the leaves on it. We're going to cut those off because we don't need them. I'll try to do this one-handed and keep you guys in the frame. Like I said, we don't need those old leaves. Take my other sticks. This isn't rocket science, folks. We're just trying to propagate a couple blackberry plants. That right there will give me 3 new plants here in just a couple of weeks. You can put these in a potting mix, set them out of the shade, or in the shade out of direct sunlight, and if you leave them outside, they'll root 8 to 10 weeks. I'm impatient. I like to take them inside, put them on a heat mat, really get the roots going pretty quick, especially if I'm using rooting hormone. But I'm going to go ahead and cut this video short. Just figured I'd show you guys how we propagate and maintain our blackberries. I may make another video of actually pruning them up and showing that process too. But if you guys like this content, go ahead and tell your friends about it. And we'll catch y'all next time. Y'all be safe.